Hey, this is Ryan from Acid Rain Technology, and in this video we're going to take a look at the features of Maestro firmware version 2.1. We've had a firmware version 2.0 floating around for a while, and we've been testing it a bunch at Acid Rain HQ here, and finally feel ready to put it out as an official release. If you're not already familiar with the Maestro, I'll go over the basics of how the module works here, and if you just want to hear about the new firmware features, you can go ahead and skip to the next section. Maestro is a 6-channel programmable modulation source. The channels are represented by these channel buttons here, 1 through 6. At its most basic level, each channel can be assigned a waveform, represented by these 8 buttons, and a timing, represented by these buttons here. So I could do a up ramp, quarter on channel 1. The waveform options for each channel are up ramp, down ramp, up down, down up, high, low, square, and random. In addition, the waveforms can be modified by the smooth parameter, and also the bipolar parameter. Normally the output range is between 0 and 5 volts, and bipolar makes it -5 to 5. You can see as I'm demonstrating, I'm holding down the channel button, which will show you the current channel's waveform and timing settings. The timing settings available are half note, quarter note, eighth note, 16th note, and 32nd note. These can also be modified with triplet and slow, which makes them half note, 4 beats, 8 beats, and so on. All of these channel parameters can be played live, and Maestro will never lose its sense of where it should be in reference to the clock. Maestro's channels can be muted by selecting the channels you want to mute and pressing the mute button. They can be unmuted the same way. The buttons in Maestro's user interface are designed to be used any way that feels comfortable to you. For instance, you could hold a channel button and change the waveform, or select a waveform and apply it to a channel, or press a channel and then select a waveform. It all works. You can enter Maestro's clock menu by pressing the clock button. Here you can adjust various clocking parameters on Maestro. The high button is a manual reset for Maestro's internal clock. The ramp up button is a simple tap tempo. The low button will reset the internal clock to 120 BPM. The up down and down up buttons, which kind of look like up and down arrows in this menu, increase and decrease the internal clock by 5 BPM. Holding down smooth while pressing those buttons will increase and decrease by 1 BPM. The random button will set a random internal clock tempo between 60 and 180 BPM. And the mute button will stop the internal clock and start it again. Within the clock menu, the timing buttons set the pulses per quarter note that the external clock input expects on Maestro. A chart for the pulse per quarter note settings can be found in the Maestro manual on our website. If I plug in an external clock, you'll see that some of the menu items change. Here we still have the high reset button for the clock that drives Maestro's channels. But other than that, we just have the pulse per quarter note menu. If I remove the external clock, our other clock menu options come back. To leave the clock menu, press the clock button again. You can save Maestro's settings by entering the Save menu, selecting channels you want to save, or none for saving all the channel data, and select one of these 14 save slots. Similarly, you can enter the Load menu and load from any of the 14 save slots. In this latest firmware, Maestro is actually continuously auto-saving as well, so if you were to turn off your rack, when you turn it back on, it will be back where you left it. Probably the most unique feature on Maestro, and the real reason for these waveform building blocks, is its chain menu. You can enter by pressing the chain button, and then selecting a channel you want to apply a chain to, and then entering a sequence of waveforms to create a complex modulation source, like up ramp, high, low, down ramp, square. I can then change the timing of this chain after the fact. In the chain menu, I can also apply specific timing settings to some of the waveforms in my chain. For instance, I could do 1/16 down, 1/16 down, 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 1/16 down, down, and press channel 1 and apply chain. Now we can see that the channel has a base time setting of 1/8, but on the waveforms where I selected 1/16, it moves to that timing. You can think of chains almost like automation lanes in a digital audio workstation. They can be used as a way to push the parameters of other modules in your rack around very precisely over long periods of time. Each channel on Maestro also has a trigger input. Right now I have channel 1 set to a 1/16 down ramp. If I patch in this gate signal from Constellation, it will play that waveform at the rising edge of each gate from Constellation. If I apply a chain to channel 1, like up, down, up, up, down, the external trigger will step through the waveforms in the chain. With the right chain, this can turn Maestro into a kind of an interesting envelope generator. Now we've come to the part of the video for all of you who've been using Maestro and want to upgrade to the new firmware. Quick note for anyone who's been using the version 2.0 firmware we've had out for a while. We found a really tricky little bug that we fixed in the 2.1 version, so we recommend you upgrade to that one. The firmware update process is quite easy. You power off your rack, remove the microSD card from Maestro, put it into your computer, and drag the firmware file onto it, reinsert it back into Maestro, and power the rack on. And we'll go through an update process, and you'll be ready to go. The main thing that the new firmware brings to the table is the channel configuration menu. To enter the configuration menu, you press the high and mute buttons at the same time. In this menu, you can select one channel at a time and configure various options for it. You can leave the configuration menu at any time by pressing the high or mute button again. And you can also enter the menu by pressing the high and mute buttons and holding them down, changing any settings you want, and then releasing them, and it will move you out of the menu immediately. Here we have channel 1 selected inside the configuration menu. On these timing buttons, we can select an attenuation for the output. Inside the configuration menu, the smooth button will change the smooth modifier from the sinusoidal shape you see here to an exponential shape. This is very useful for using Maestro as an envelope generator. If we select the bipolar button, instead of an external trigger triggering each waveform of the channel, it will sample and hold the channel's output. If we have a chain applied to the channel and we press chain in the configuration menu, instead of an external trigger stepping through the waveforms of the chain, it will play the entire chain. Note that the chain and bipolar options in the configuration menu are mutually exclusive. You can't be sample and holding and playing one-shot chains at the same time. Here I have a chain of 4 random waveforms applied to channel 1. In the configuration menu, if I press the random button, those values will loop. Outside of the configuration menu, if I press and hold random and press chain twice, it will reseed those random values. This is a fun way to play around with looped random on Maestro. All of these settings in the configuration menu are saved when you save data on the Maestro, both autosave and regular saving. For those of you who've been using Maestro for a while, hopefully the configuration menu will provide some interesting new things to explore. We'd like to thank all of you who've been using the Maestro since we released it 5 years ago. It's because of you that we get to do what we do here at Acid Rain Technology. I hope that the Maestro inspires you to make music in new and interesting ways for many years to come. Thank you.